Cha-ching, cha-ching, listeners. And welcome to Technology Blows, the Techno-Pessimist podcast. I am here today with my great friend, Daniel Ryan, who I have known for, maybe 15 years.
Oh God, has it really been that long?
I think so.
The linear nature of time is upsetting.
Yeah. Oh, who boy. So I've known Daniel for 15 linear years. We've worked together. We've slacked off work together. It's been a fantastic time, and I'm so glad. So welcome to the show, Daniel Ryan.
Thanks, Dan. I am stoked to be here. Yeah, we've complained a lot about technology together over the years.
God.
I feel like it continues to be bad for the most
You're
part.
one of the main, I would say you're one of the main things in my life that got my brain stuck in this loop that forced me to start a podcast.
Oh,
where
no.
I was like, wait a second, technology is not so great, is it? So thank you for that.
It is not.
I just got back from, as listeners will know, we've been off for a few weeks in a row. I just got back from a vacation in Scotland,
Ooh.
where I had a fantastic time, and the sun was setting at 11:30 p.m. and rising at 1:30 a.m., which rules.
Yeah, that sounds about right. We've got 3:53 a.m. sunrise here and 10:49 p.m. sunset, if you can call it setting.
Yeah, it's just what is it? Just sort of like skim along the horizon for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not above the Arctic Circle, but it's effective. It doesn't get truly dark.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's got to be great for your brain and your hormones and your body and all that stuff.
It's so fun. I love summer.
I got to, I'm sure, this is not special to you, but I got to feed a reindeer with my hands.
That's pretty awesome.
Okay, good. I'm glad you think that's awesome. Yeah. They have reindeer in Scotland. Who knew?
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. What else did we do? We rode a funicular up to a mountain and looked down at a bunch of lochs. We went to a castle on a loch.
They've got a lot of those.
Yeah, they almost didn't let me into the country because I was traveling with my daughter who has a different surname than I do. And they were
Ooh.
like, are you sure you are not abducting her? Do you have her birth certificate?
Wow. Did you have like a digital copy or something? Because I didn't travel with a copy of my birth certificate. Like, why would I do that?
Of course I didn't. Why would I have a copy of her birth certificate? That's crazy. And the lady was like, I would do this even if you were a mom and traveling with a daughter with a different name. And I was like, sure, but like, why though? Yeah, I don't know.
But you made it, sounds like.
We made it, and it was a fantastic trip. We took a haunted tour in Edinburgh under the streets of Edinburgh and the vaults where people used to live and die. And
I think I took
fantastic.
a tour like that when I was there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
spooky.
many years ago. It was spooky. I appreciated it.
Love a spooky tour. See, even you wouldn't think a 6-year-old girl would love a spooky tour, but she has not stopped talking about it. She thought it was fantastic. Have you ever worked retail?
I have. When I was like 16, I worked selling hardware at Sears, which I'm an introverted person, and we got trained very, very, very heavily to not take no for an answer. Like, you go talk to those people and you follow them around the store and you make sure that they don't have any questions. And then when they get to the cash register, you got to upsell them on everything. And like every introverted bone in my body hated doing that. I was not good at that job.
That's laudable. I think people should not be good at that job.
Yeah, when I'm shopping, I want to be left alone. And I tried to leave people alone, and my bosses did not care for that strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, hey man, do you want a screwdriver? No?
No?
Okay,
Okay.
I guess you don't need a screwdriver then. Yeah, that's the way the world should be. But no, I'm not a retail's not my jam either. I worked one summer during high school part time as a janitor slash cashier at a little chocolate shop in Jacksonville, Florida,
Ooh.
in a strip mall. That was a wild time. I had my boss Teresa, who owned the chocolate shop, was this chain smoking, chain Diet Coke drinking evangelical Christian who was just constantly trying to convert me to go to her Baptist church. She had sold her trucking company prior to 2 years prior to starting the chocolate shop because Jesus told her she needed to start a chocolate shop.
I mean, if it involves chocolate, who am I to argue with Jesus?
Yeah, yeah, two of people's favorite things. Uh, and she, I never saw her like actually eating the chocolate. She mostly just drank 3 cases of Diet Coke and smoked 3 packs of cigarettes every day.
As one
Uh,
does.
but you know, yeah, exactly. If God tells you you need to start a chocolate shop, you put your life on pause for a year and you start a chocolate shop. Which I kind of admired the you know the way she buckled down and did that.
There are worse
Uh,
things that Jesus could have told her to do with her time.
yeah, I could think of some. I could think of some. But it is kind of, it's not dissimilar from God telling somebody they need to become a serial killer, right? It's like it's the same. It's structurally the same, but just like happens to be a different message. But God can say whatever He wants, you know.
That's true. Nobody can stop him.
Well, the yeah, the main character of these episodes, John Henry Patterson, never talked to God or never wrote down or recorded that he talked to God. But according to his biographer, he thought himself divinely appointed to make cash registers.
That's all right. Good for him, I guess.
It's kind of a sad thing to be divinely appointed to, but you know everybody's got a job to do. He ran a beautiful, a truly beautiful factory that other business leaders of the late 1800s would often visit to see how he did this amazing thing. And to show you what it looks like when a man thinks himself divinely appointed to make cash registers, once toward the end of a tour, Patterson was showing his guests into a room full of these shiny new finished cash register units, and he announced, "These registers are in perfect working order and all ready for shipment." And then to demonstrate, he went to one of the machines and he rang up a sale on the machine, but it didn't work right. It had a defective key on
Oh
one of the
no.
machine. One of the keys was defective on the machine. So he's trying to show these people and it's not working. So his expression turns dark and he mutters, "I will show you what we do with registers that don't work." And he grabbed a nearby mallet, hefted it over his head, and just smashed this defective machine to tiny bits in front of the tour group.
I mean, to be fair, who among us, when smited by the demo gods like that, has not wanted to take a hammer to whatever device decided to smite us? Like, that is a fair and proportional reaction, if you ask me.
That's true. The way that technical salespeople manage to not smash the monitor that they're showing or the projector that they're showing my tech to when my tech falls over because I'm at lunch and I forgot to click retry on the deploy script. I don't know how they do it. Incredible forbearance. So I guess he invented that. He invented the failed tech demo in the way that he invented so many other things that we're going to talk about that are still with us, unfortunately, today in the technical, in the service and industrial industries. So John Henry Patterson, it wasn't just a boss with a bad temper smashing this machine with the mallet. He was a man who was terrified and disgusted by imperfection, whether it be in a product or in a worker or in his own body. And he believed that perfection could and must be achieved through a synthesis of technology in the body. So in these episodes, we're going to watch that attitude inform everything this man does, from the training of his sales force to the cash register itself to the temperature and number of his multiple daily baths. And I hope you're as excited about this as I am,
Oh
Daniel
yeah,
Ryan.
that sounds like quite a guy.
Yeah. He was, if nothing else, quite a guy. But we're not going to talk about him we're not going to talk about him quite yet. Before we get to John Henry Patterson, uh, as everyone knows, if you want to batter a cash register to smithereens, you must first invent the cash register. So first, we're going to talk about James Jacob Rittty. James Rittty is the proprietor of the Empire House Saloon in Dayton, Ohio, and in about 1878, he realizes he has a problem. He's been keeping track of how much liquor is being poured from his liquor bottles, and he's probably like, I don't know exactly what he was doing, but he's probably notching the labels as bar owners still do today, where they'll like notch where the line is one night, and at the end of the night they'll see how much liquor was poured out, and they'll compare it to the receipts to see if anybody's stealing from them. And Ritty
Sensible.
realizes people are stealing liquor from his shelves. It's probably his employees. The idea that his employees are stealing profits drives James Ritty completely batshit. He starts obsessively watching the till. He can't sleep. He's thinking about it all the time. Eventually, he finds himself on the verge of a nervous breakdown. So he decides it's probably his doctor tells him he needs to go on a vacation to Europe to take his mind off the cash problem, get some fresh air on the ship.
Yeah,
And
sea
yeah,
air. Yeah,
yeah, that's what they prescribed for fucking everything
everything.
in the late 1800s, because they didn't have medicine yet. It was just oh, you broke your leg. Well, it sounds like you need to take a walk around a ship's deck for a few weeks.
Or leeches. I feel like leeches were
Yeah,
still popular back then.
yeah. Take a boat tour of some South American swamps and just go swimming.
What could go wrong?
So he's on this ship. He is relaxing, and one of the ways he wants to relax is he asks if he can visit the engine room, like a child on an airplane. Which, hell yeah, like I would love to visit an 1800s steamboat engine room. I would drive that captain out of his mind. I would be asking about every doohickey and thingamabob in the room. You know, I get it. I get what he wants out of this.
Yeah.
What he fatefully sees in this engine room is a gauge that registers the number of revolutions of the ship's propeller. So it just counts how many revolutions the propeller is doing. I don't know exactly what device this is. Probably something that we call a Veeder counter, which is just like a early industrial device that can count how often it gets twisted around. Ritty gets home, and this rotation counting machine is living rent free in his head. He's like, well, what if we could have that, but for how much liquor is being poured out of the bottles in my shop? And
Oh.
and right. So I don't know. It's like, come on, man. You visit this. It's like a cave of wonders. Is this bridge of a modern steamship? All this amazing technology, and that's your takeaway. He's like, it's so lame to me. But that's the kind of guy he is. He's the kind of guy who could walk through the engineering bay of the USS Enterprise and completely ignore the warp core, and instead he'd be like, "What is this incredible man-sized tube? Why, I could use these in my saloon to catch thieving employees red-handed." Right?
And I bet he didn't even go home and like decorate the inside of his saloon like a steamship engine room
Oh my
for the
God.
ambiance.
If you got a problem with profits, go theme saloon, right? Now you're a tourist attraction.
Right?
Think outside the box, man. No, he's a very much inside the box thinker, and so he decides to build a box. He goes to his brother, who's a mechanic, and he says, "Would it be possible to build a counting machine, but instead of registering propeller rotations, it registers cash?" So together they come up with this truly ingenious invention, and truly, in a way, I would say beautiful invention that they call the Incorruptible Cashier.
Oh, incorruptible. I like that.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a flair for some things, but he was terrible at other things in business. But I kind of like this Incorruptible Cashier name, and it carries a little bit of meaning that cash register doesn't carry anymore. But we'll get to what the cash register actually is with respect to employees. But going off patent, so I'm going to tell you about how the cash register works. The first cash register, he filed. I'm going off of patent 271363, filed in January of 1883 by James Rittty and an engineer that he hired. I think it's an engineer. So it has a row of keys in intervals of 5. They're labeled 5, 10, 15, 20 on the front panel. And that indicates the number of cents in the purchase. So they're in increments of 5. So I guess pennies were already irrelevant by 1883. And
Good.
it still took us another fucking 140 years or whatever to actually get rid of them. So you press, so for example, you press the 5 key inside the machine, that turns the 5-cent wheel and pops up. It also pops up a tablet labeled 5 in behind glass in the top panel so that the customer can see how much they're being charged. The 5-cent wheel that is turned when you press the key has 20 segments. They're labeled they're with like little engraved numbers on them, 5, 10, 15, 20. And then the 10-cent wheel has 20 segments labeled 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on up to $2, right? So each of and these wheels are all sort of geared together so that when one of them turns all the way around, it increments the next wheel by the appropriate amount, so that over the course of the day, as you press these buttons, these dials inside the machine are just counting up the total amount of cash, a total amount of money that has changed hands. So each key has at the start of the day, the way it works for the proprietor of the establishment is start of the day, the proprietor opens the machine and goes in with his finger and sets all the wheels to 0. And then at the end of the day, he opens up the machine again and he jots down the reading on paper. All the readings, he has to write down all the readings on paper and add them up. And then he can see how much cash is in the till and compare that to how much was it there at the beginning of the day. And if the numbers don't match, then
he goes and yells at someone.
He goes and yells at somebody. Who? I don't know. But that's the theory, at least, is that he can at least help him figure out who's stealing from him. Right. So the operator can't see the dials inside the machine. So if he thinks he has some trick to make the cash register ring up the wrong amount so he can steal some money, he can't see the dials, so he can't tell if his trick is working. Right. And later designs are going to improve on the convenience of this, but it says something about Rittty, how deeply paranoia is designed into every aspect of this machine. Like, it has to have a lockable metal case with a key that only he has. The operator can't see the dials. There's a bell that chimes with every key press, which functions, as the patent explains, to give notice to the customer that the machine has been properly operated. But it's also so Rittty can be like, "Oh, what's that? Did somebody open the cash drawer? What are you doing over there?" It's got these indicators behind glass, and it's even the paranoia is even encoded into the name, the Incorruptible Cashier, right?
All I'm hearing is that this guy was like the first security engineer.
Yeah, yeah. If the security engineer was also the CEO.
Yeah, I'm sure that's happened once.
Yeah, exactly. He's like he's just thinking about all the angles, or how could these how could anybody
How could things
possibly
go wrong? Yeah.
steal a little bit of money from me? Um, and and this I think this paranoia tells us an enormous amount about what cash registers actually are. We don't think about them really in the modern day, but the project of the cash register is not just to build a useful accounting tool, right? From this very first patent, the project is to integrate the employee's body with machinery and thereby sort of constrain these slippery human abilities like speech and thought by replacing what humans can do with like trunnions and detents and spring-loaded ratchets, so that the cash register and the cashier sort of form a system together that channels profit around the cashier's soul and into the owner's bank account. That's the way I look at it. And Ritty's doing fine, right? He owns multiple saloons. He's going on European vacations to calm his nerves. But given the choice between spending years of his life developing this patent and then devoting 4 square feet of counter space forever to this enormous clanging hunk of steel versus just paying his employees a profit share and chilling the fuck out, he goes with the hunk of steel.
I mean that sounds like a capitalist. Like you don't become the rich dude who can go on steamships by being fair to your employees. Don't be ridiculous.
That's right. All the profit has to funnel up.
Yeah.
If the profit's not funneling up, why even have a bar? It's not like people like drinking alcohol. Now, Ritty, like I said, he's not the best at business per se. He tries to make the leap from selling whiskey to selling the Incorruptible Cashier as an industrialist, but he doesn't really have the juice. Nobody really wants cash registers. They haven't heard about this. They already know how to handle cash, and he can't sell them. So instead, he sells his patent and he quits the
Mm.
manufacturing game to return to the far more honorable trade, in my opinion, of boozmanship. Which brings me to the man who did have the juice, the flawed protagonist of these episodes, John Henry Patterson. John Patterson was born in 1844 and he grew up on a farm near Dayton, Ohio, the city where he would live for the rest of his life and where James Ritty is from. He was the seventh of 11 children. Which is, respectable, but, pretty normal farm family, Ohio 1800s farm family. They just like pop him out.
Somebody's got
Somewhere.
to tend all the fields of what corn and soybeans out there.
Exactly. What? Yeah, exactly. What else? What else? Why else would you have, children? They gotta fix the fucking, I don't know enough about farms to know what you do on farms, but whatever you do, you need small hands for it.
And a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's the 14th and 15th of 22 hands born on this farm. Hey, this is Dan here, just cutting in to make a small correction. John Patterson would have been the 13th and 14th hands born on his farm, unless one of his older siblings had fewer than two or more than two hands, which we don't have in the historical record. So, best guess, 13th and 14th hands. Just wanted to correct that for you. All right, back to it. And when he's a young man, he serves in the Union Army briefly in the Civil War, but he doesn't see any combat. He's discharged in 1864, and then he goes to college. He went to Dartmouth. What he says about college is, what I learned mostly was what not to do. They gave me Greek and Latin and algebra and higher mathematics and Edwards on the will, all useless. He's not
Not the
like a
first person to complain about algebra being useless.
right. listen, maybe it's useless, maybe it's not, but it is fun.
That is true. I enjoyed algebra quite a bit.
Yeah. You and I, Daniel, are very different people from John H. Patterson.
That is
Um,
probably true in a lot of ways.
yeah. Oh, just wait. Um, I don't know how many. You probably only take like 2 or 3 baths a day. Um, So what it's like college does not teach you how to be a manufacturer, and John Patterson wants practical. He wants to know, what do I do to make a shitload of money? Learning about Edwards on free will, reading about and the Aeneid or whatever isn't doing it for him. So he finishes college, but he never he's never he never talks about college in a positive light. Instead, he returns to the farm, and he's running their farm store on their farm where they sell their produce to people. He recognizes, so he talks a little bit about this in his bio. We have very frustratingly little on his childhood and early life, which is too bad because the guy he turns out to be, it's got to be something intrinsically there
You need the
that is
explanation.
fucking weird that I don't understand. But we don't know, and we don't know too much about it. We do know that he recognizes the importance of bookkeeping at the store. But he's terrible at it. He doesn't have a good memory for what the processes he needs to do, and he seems to have developed kind of a complex about this with his family. He later recalled how his family would always badger him, saying, and he said, "quote Oh my, it is burned right in on my brain. Did you forget to charge it? When you paid him so much money on account, did you fail to credit it? When you paid for something, did you fail to give him credit for his wages? I can close my eyes and hear it all again." And this is what he's saying when he's like 60,
That's
70.
that's almost a little sad. Like as somebody whose ADHD brain is not always the best at remembering things, I'm feeling a little bad for the guy because
Yeah.
who can remember things?
Yeah. Right. Um, right. I totally agree. I certainly I worked for my parents' business and for a period of time, and it was a job that involved a lot of tedium of like scanning documents, and I was pretty mid at it, and it made me feel bad. But I
Yeah.
responded by getting a job where nobody looks over my shoulder. John Patterson responded by getting a job by creating a company where he could hire thousands of people to remember things for him, I guess.
That's a choice.
Yeah. Uh, but he's clearly like this made an impression on him, and I get that. Um, so Patterson's not really suited to farm life, and he wants to go into business for himself. So at the age of 24, he starts a coal business, which does pretty okay. He's got a good sense for branding. He's got the Patterson name on all his trucks. They're all the same, painted the same red shade of red with his name on them. But still, and he's got a pretty good reputation. But he's still just barely turning a profit until. Hello. That's Daniel's cat. Yep. If everybody just enjoy that for a second, I'm gonna leave this in.
I
Uh,
even fed her before this just so that she wouldn't come scream at me for dinner, and it did not work.
uh, yeah. Who knows what she's screaming at you about now? But
Maybe
uh,
she's got opinions about cash registers.
yeah. Right. Right. Maybe she's trying to correct me on some of the things I'm saying. Oh, I read the Crowther biography, and but all we hear is meow meow meow. Um, So he's got customers. He's got coal. He's selling the coal to the customers, but he's barely turning a profit until one day, Patterson happens across a newspaper ad for this new invention called James Ritty's Incorruptible Cashier,
Oh,
and he's like, "Wait a second, maybe the reason I'm not making a profit is because I'm so bad at bookkeeping, and I can get one of these machines. He buys one of these babies for $50, and the next 6 months he turns $5,000 in profit. His fortunes have finally shifted, and he believes it's because of this incredible machine. He becomes a zealous convert to the Church of the Cash Register. And after his coal business goes belly up during the Depression of 1882, what can you do? He takes some of the money that he's saved up and goes in with his brother Frank to buy the new National Manufacturing Company, which owns the patents for the cash register now.
Oh.
He kind of jumps the gun here. He buys it out of like religious zeal rather than any kind of sound business rationale. He doesn't know manufacturing. He learned Greek and Latin, but he finds out, and after he buys the company, he finds out they can't even build 30 of these things a month, and they can't even sell half of the ones they build because people already know how to count money. And also, most of the machines they make don't work.
Right, because you need to get hit with hammers.
They haven't been smacked around with a mallet enough. He solves that problem. He goes and tries to sell the company back to its previous owner because once he finds out how bad it is, and the previous owner tells him, "I would not have it back as a gift."
No takesy backsies.
I'm on a European steamship vacation now. Don't bother me.
New steamship, who dis?
So yeah, not a strong start. Not a strong start for his business, but he's committed now. He owns this factory. He can't get rid of it. He and his brother have just spent all this money on this useless factory. And what's more, Patterson still believes in his heart that the cash register can change commerce forever. So John Patterson renames his new shitty company to National Cash Register Company. And he decides,
Creative.
yeah, it's not national yet, but it is technically a company that makes cash registers, although they don't work. I could have called it Ohio Broken Cash Register Company.
If I put her behind me, sometimes she shuts up.
Yeah, I used to have a cat like that.
Yeah. Her goal in life is just to be lumbar support.
More useful than the average cat. That's pretty good. So Patterson renames the company, and then he decides if there's no demand for this machine, I'm just going to have to create demand. And boy, does he. John Patterson is one of the first industrialists to really appreciate the potential of a sales force. It would be too much to claim that Patterson invented the idea of sales-led manufacturing, where you use your sales force to create demand and then manufacture the product right. Singer was already kind of doing that with their sewing machines. But it's early. It's in its infancy, this idea that you would like get people to want a thing and then build the thing. It's sort of unlocked by the Industrial Revolution. You couldn't really do that back before you had, factories powered by electricity. So, but he's the guy. Patterson is the guy who figures out how to scale the sales force. And I do think it's fair to credit Patterson for inventing modern B2B sales.
Well, golly, good for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we have Salesforce.
Now we have fucking Salesforce, which someday I'll do an episode on, but it's so many things.
I think you'd have to do a whole series.
I would. Yeah. I could pick one of the 1,000 products Salesforce makes and do a 3-parter on it. I mean, and this is where it all starts. Patterson scrapes together. First thing Patterson does is he scrapes together a list of about 5,000 prospective customers, and he just starts inundating them with advertising material.
Saloons.
Exactly. All the saloons, all the all the coal. He probably knows a lot of people in the coal store industry, probably selling to them. Um, he's got like he's got this mailing list, and eventually grows to like 1.5 million names and addresses. And just like that, he's already invented direct mail marketing. So
All
thanks
right,
for
fuck that
that.
guy.
Yeah, what an asshole. Unfortunately, it works. It works great. Uh, so so after inventing junk mail, Patterson gets to work building a veritable army of salesmen, and these are not like the slick talking, charisma driven snake oil salesmen that people would think of as salesmen in the mid 1800s. These are calm, clean shaven, business suit wearing professionals. They're drilled on how to demonstrate and explain every aspect of every product in the National Cash Register product line. And he expects his salesmen to not just be employees who sell cash registers, but national men. You know, they're supposed to devote their whole life and soul to the cash register, just like he has.
Oh, so he invented startups.
He invented fucking startups. This guy, this is just the beginning, Daniel. You're gonna be so mad at John Henry Patterson by the end of this episode. Yeah, he invented that whole attitude of just like, this is your life now, and if you succeed, then you'll make almost as much money as I will. Uh, but you have to really believe in it. And this is a pretty bizarre idea for the time, right? Like if you nowadays it seems like that's just sales, right? But at the time, the idea that the company should be able to capture not just the value of a person's working hours, but capture the whole person. That like capturing the whole salesman even extends to his family. When the business gets bigger, NCR, National Cash Register, will start hosting a wives convention
Oh God.
attended by 500. They have 500 salesmen's wives all come to a convention, and they put them all together in the company schoolhouse, which is a thing. And Patterson gives a speech to the wives telling them all how to keep their husbands operating at peak efficiency. Some of it's like care and feeding advice. Like they have like a list of 10 things you need to do as a wife of an NCR salesman. So keep him cheerful. Give him plenty of air. See that he gets enough sleep. These are the responsibilities of a wife. And the wife is also encouraged to be an active part of National Cash Register herself by taking a real interest in her husband's sales record, reading NCR's advertising matter, and of course, being cheerful herself.
Of course.
Right? Like if you've got a salesman and he's got a wife, don't just let that wife sit around on the shelf. Make her, make her work.
Well, and at what point do we start turning the schools into training grounds for more salesmen, for the next generation of salesmen? Like I feel like that's the next level of dystopia that needs to happen here.
In about 60 seconds, Daniel. Uh, yeah. So he invents. So right, he invents direct mail. He invents Wifemaxxing. Another important part of B2B sales that Patterson invents is he has his NCR sales agents have guaranteed territory. So like it's unlike other sales teams where you get the same commission whether you make a sale in Ohio or Florida or California. NCR splits the company up into regions. So there's an agent representing each region. He directs the sales within that region, and he only gets a commission on sales that occur within his designated region. Patterson comes up with this in the 1880s, and as we know now, it will become how almost all B2B sales works. He's invented the regional sales manager.
That fucking guy. But has he invented the assistant to the regional sales manager?
He's invented a system where he's invented the pyramid of, we'll get to this, but he's invented the idea that everybody should be delegating to somebody who's delegating to somebody else.
Oh, good.
Maybe he didn't invent that, but he certainly optimizes it. Yeah, there's one agent in the region, and then that agent has a bunch of like underlings who go around and actually do the selling, and the agent's job is to make sure they have enough sales and report back daily to HQ. Finally, and this is what you were asking about, is Patterson invents the company-wide sales kickoff.
Oh, that I just got a little upset hearing those words in that order.
I know, I know, but apparently it's important. They regularly get their sales agents together at the main office in Dayton, and they'll do trainings. They'll all practice their sales pitches, share strategies, teach each other tricks they've learned for product demos, which only works because of the guaranteed territory system. Right? Without that, all the sales agents are competing with each other for commissions. They're all trying to like, they're not going to share their best strategies with each other if they're competing for sales. They want to keep that to themselves. The territory system creates solidarity among the salespeople. They're still competing with each other, right? They're still like trying to make the most money for National Cash Register.
But they're not trying to like psych each other out by sharing
Exactly.
fake strategies to try and make their fellow salespeople look like idiots.
Exactly. Which was a problem at Singer and with a lot of the companies before this that didn't have dedicated regions for sales, which is kind of genius. They're competing to sell the most cash registers with each other in the monthly sales contest, which is another thing John Patterson invents, is the monthly sales, contest.
Employee of the month.
Employee of the, basically invents employee of the month. Yeah. He has just like an incredibly inventive mind for socially harmful business practices.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. You've probably been to I know you and I have worked at tech companies, so we've both been to like mid-sized tech companies, internal conventions, and usually there's like a sales kickoff that's before the one where they actually have the engineers, because they want to keep the sales people separate from R&D.
So we don't
And
like infect them with our geekiness.
exactly. Well, so that's how it's always played, right? It's like, oh yeah, engineers are awkward and thorny, and they don't have the sale, they don't share the sales culture, so we don't want to mix them together.
Yeah.
But we're not the ones in a fucking cult.
That's true. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe there's some engineers in a cult. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. I mean, I'm
yeah,
here
but
to
it's
judge a
it's
little
a
bit.
cool one. It's like
Yeah.
it's probably a cool like D&D adjacent cult. Not a fucking selling cash registers cult. Those
Yeah.
like
One of
they're
the
the
D's
weird
is for
ones.
Dora metrics. That's a very
Right.
cool cult.
Jesus Christ. Someday I'll talk about Dorometrics. It's kind of an inside baseball topic for this podcast, but I just make me so mad. Um, and sales, I'm always trying to talk to the salespeople at the lunch buffet about Dorometrics, and they're like, "Oh, okay, that sounds great. Good for you." Now, beyond just making his sales operation more effective, the guaranteed territory system brings a less obvious but even more important benefit, which is that it makes the salesmen more or less interchangeable with one another. The like personal relationship driven Willy Loman type salesman is no longer the dominant archetype, because if any of these sales agents gets a big head and starts questioning how things are run, Patterson can just fire him and replace him with another equally polite, knowledgeable guy in a suit.
They are kind of interchangeable like that.
Yeah, I've known so many. They all had names and faces, but Uh, you could if you
And
asked me.
suits.
Yeah, they all had names and faces and suits. I guarantee you that. But that's about all I remember about which one was which. It works great. But one funny upshot of this is that a huge number of American business leaders in the early 1900s are guys John Patterson fired. He
Interesting.
because he's one of the most prolific firers of talent ever. One of these people he fired is Thomas Watson, who founded.
IBM.
Yeah,
All right. Well, good for Thomas Watson, I guess.
yeah. He got fired by John Patterson. He's like, I'm gonna make even
I'll
more
show that
international, even
guy.
more business machines. Another one is Charles Kettering, who would go on to head research at GE for 27 years and invent the electric starting motor, leaded gasoline, and Freon.
What a guy.
What a guy. I mean, you have to admit they're pretty important inventions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and even though leaded gasoline poisoned basically everyone in the entire world and CFCs ripped a hole in the ozone layer, you can't say they were inconsequential.
That is true.
So working at NCR in the early 1900s is sort of like listening to the Velvet Underground and Nico in 1967. Not many people did it, but the people who did all went on to start a band slash build morally reprehensible technology. Now in 1893, the U.S. economy goes into its biggest depression ever. It to date. It hits labor very hard. People can't get jobs, and the jobs they can get are just like stand in this sweltering room all day, breathing in iron filings, and try to keep your important fingers out of these gears. It's just like not great. So unsurprisingly, this makes the labor movement in this period very militant. So along with coal dust and mercury vapor, sabotage is in the air. And in 1894, a large shipment of cash registers worth $50,000, which is about $2 million in today's dollars, gets returned to NCR because somebody has gone through and poured acid in all of them.
Nice.
Based, no pun intended. The standard response to this would be to hire the Pinkertons to just
Right.
like hang around on the shop floor, and if they see any labor agitation, crack some skulls.
We've got all those hammers for the demos.
Maybe that's why they invested so heavily in mallets, that they were just lying around the demo room. They also, I think they might also like put the sulfuric acid behind a counter and make you check it out with a logbook or something.
You think that?
That's what James Rittty would have done for sure, but that's not what James Patterson does. It's actually really surprising when I learned about this. John Patterson, not James Patterson, the extremely prolific. I knew I would do this. I knew at some point I would say James Patterson, who is the mystery suspense writer who wrote Kiss the Girls and like 300 other books. No, John Patterson. He moves his office down to the factory floor, and he starts just trying to figure out why his workers are unsatisfied enough to be pouring acid in his machines. And this is how Patterson discovers that employees, quote, did not care whether they turned out good or bad work. Then I looked further into conditions, and I frankly had to confess that there was no particular reason why they should put heart into their work. Fair enough.
Yeah, he's almost onto a realization there.
He's so close.
So close.
And so what does he do? He institutes a general wage increase. He implements the first paid suggestion system.
Ooh.
He adds ventilation to the factory. It didn't have ventilation before. It's pretty good. He puts shields around the dangerous equipment that can chop your limbs off. He builds dressing rooms and showers that you're allowed to use on company time. He builds a cafeteria that serves hot lunches. He builds a free medical clinic on the factory grounds. And he even spends a ton of money beautifying the whole environment. He hires an architect to rebuild the concrete and brick buildings in steel and glass. And he hires fucking Frederick Law Olmsted, the guy who designed Central Park. He hires Olmsted to redesign all the campus landscaping on his factory.
That all sounds surprisingly positive. What's the catch?
There's not, I mean, for a while, there's no catch.
All right.
It's honestly legitimately good for workers.
Yeah.
Right? Like they must have been the workers at NCR during this period must have been way healthier and happier than the average turn of the century Daytonian.
Yeah.
And there was not really any other way to get free hot lunches and medical care if you were a factory laborer in 1900. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's gonna hire out all the competition. Everyone's gonna want to come enjoy his showers and hot
And they do.
sandwiches.
And they do. It grows super fast, and he ends up being like largely, he ends up very influential in the area. He's like making decisions about city infrastructure, and he starts bringing people. This is when the tours really start. Is he starts getting people to come and see how it's done here and why they have relatively few labor disputes. So, and I've seen a lot of reporting on John Patterson that talks about this part and stops there. It's like it's a feel good story about bosses can be actually pretty nice, and it's not fully wrong. It can't be denied, and it also can't be denied that like in its heyday, National Cash Register produced some beautiful machines. I'm going to show you a picture of one of these machines. So here's one of their machines.
Yes. Yeah, that is exactly what I was imagining. Like old timey cash register to look like is that thing.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's got the nice pointy hand to show you where to look. I like that.
It's got the little, yeah, it's got a little like acid etched finger pointing hand. It's like, this is how much you're paying. It's got that icon. It's got this like ornate scroll work all over the casing, which is in polished brass. Even between the rows of buttons, it's got these little flowery designs.
It just looks like it would be very satisfying to use too. Like it would make like very good like tactile sensation, like pressing those buttons.
Yes, they go ka-chunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, and I wish my MacBook looked like this.
I wish more things still put care into the design instead of everything being interchangeable so-called minimalist bullshit. But that is another rant. I would save that.
Yeah, everything's fucking knockoff, made in California by Apple.
And even Apple used to like they used to make the computers in different colors. Like they
Right.
were pretty, they were interesting. It's fine. It's fine.
No, nope. No longer can you get a machine that looks like this, which is too bad. They were heavy, but I'm okay with that. I also wish my MacBook made the same sound that these machines make, which I will play for you now. Yes. That's the first cash register drawer, and here's the second cash register drawer. Ah,
Oh,
beautiful. I can't get enough of that sound. I don't know about you. I think that's amazing.
isn't there some song that I'm forgetting right now that has like a chunk 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 like that sampled the cash register sound and it was very satisfying?
There's a couple. There's Pink Floyd's "Money," which starts with a lot of different cash register sounds and the chunk and the ding, and then there's Paper Planes.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah,
I'm glad
yeah.
somebody remembers music sounds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good and that was like that song came out fucking 30 years after cash registers were no longer really a thing, but that sound,
Is
that
still so good.
ding, is so good and so iconic. We all know what that means. Yeah, and of course, cash registers didn't stay this beautiful forever. We The one I just showed you was a model from the early days of NCR, when it was run by an obsessive maniac who was trying to invent B2B sales. This is what National Cash Registers products looked like by the 1950s.
Boo.
Ooh,
Boo.
no more brass. It's just beige sheet metal, plastic buttons, rubber cash drawer. Sucks.
It is so beige. Like the red buttons are a nice burgundy. I'll give them that, but the
Yeah,
beige.
they got rid of that eventually.
Of course they did.
It's beige as hell. It's got lines where it doesn't need lines. Uh, it's it's still cooler than a fucking Clover iPad though. I'll give it that.
Yeah. It's got that little zigzag down. Why does it zig in the middle there?
And it zigs where it should have zagged. I don't know.
It could have just been a straight line though. It's it's fine.
Yeah, I don't. It's not. It doesn't compare at all to the. But so that's sort of the difference is like here when back at the brass designs, they were trying to make people want cash registers, and we'll get to this, but by the 1950s, they didn't have to do that anymore. You had to have a cash register.
And everyone
Uh,
already had one, so then they could just be like, "Oh, remember this thing that you're used to that used to be good?
right.
Have a replacement. It's just gonna suck a little more."
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Count
Yeah,
up
not have
money
a cash
yourself?
register.
We privatize we're working on privatizing the education system now, so you won't be able to do math either. Um, Blows. Anyway, that's what they used to look like. Oh, those days are gone. Now, by the way, when we had the picture up of the brass register, the brass early cash register before, did you notice the hand crank on the side?
Yeah, that looked like a very satisfying hand crank.
It did. I would like it. I would like it if I had to crank my laptop with a hand crank to make Claude answer code questions for me. Uh, they should just add that as like a little psychosomatic thing to make me feel like I'm doing something now that I don't have to write in my own code. So those were the early ones were hand crank machines. There was no motor in them, and I think that was actually part of the beauty to a man like Patterson. You got this ornate, meticulously designed machine that with the bell, and the worker is turning a hand crank to every sale he makes. He has to turn the hand crank to sort of prove he's not stealing. It's all part of this one cohesive, orderly system. And an orderly system is the one thing John H. Patterson truly loves. Did I mention he had a wife and two kids?
I don't think so.
His wife was Catherine Beck of Brookline, Massachusetts. They married in 1888, and she died in 1894 at the age of either 28, 29, or 30, depending on whom you read, either of diphtheria or typhoid, depending on whom you read.
Very
Neither
popular
of
things to die of in those days.
Yep, everybody's just dying left and right, and why write it down which one it was doesn't matter. Neither of Patterson's biographers records any emotional response by the man to his wife's death. Just keeps on chugging. But he loves systems. That's his true love. And you can see how this love of systems makes him into a titan of industry. He's got a system for direct mail. He's got a system for salesmanship, a system for training salesmen. He's got systems for production, for distribution. And if you come to meet John Patterson in his office, you'll see he's even got a system for systems.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, of course he does. Of course. He's got this big blackboard behind his desk with 5 columns drawn on it all the time. The columns are labeled mentally, morally, physically, socially, and financially.
All right.
And anytime somebody comes to him with an idea, he'll have them explain its implications in each of these categories, and he'll write it down, and they'll evaluate the idea together on the blackboard.
To make sure does an idea have to hit all five, or is it like 4 out of
Yes.
5?
Well, I
Okay.
don't. We don't get a lot of. I would assume so, and I'm pretty confident in that for the reasons we're about to go into. But I never. We don't get a lot of detail on how the system was actually used. He was very proud of his idea systems. So it's no coincidence that there are 5 categories on the blackboard, because 5 is a holy number to John H. Patterson. He seems to have read early in the 1890s some piece of like Helena Blavatsky adjacent Victorian mystical hooey about 5 being the number of greatest cosmic significance, because like the Egyptian pyramids have 5 sides or whatever, and that proves that God loves 5. From a writer in this pyramid hooey movement, we have this quote: "This intense fiveness could not have been accidental, and likewise corresponds with the arrangements of God, both in nature and revelation. Note the 5ness of termination to each limb of the human body, the 5 senses, the 5 books of Moses, the twice 5 precepts of the Decalogue." Twice 5, come on.
Yeah, that's
That's
a bit of a stretch.
Now 2's involved? Get the hell out of here, 2. Fuck off. I don't know, and he just reads this and he's like, "Oh, well, that makes perfect sense. Of course 5." It's really funny to me the way Patterson gets obsessed with 5, because as we've established, the man is not a reader. But he reads one kooky pamphlet on the pyramids, and it immediately becomes the way he thinks about everything. It
Everything.
reminds me of these guys who you meet at DevOps conferences who just finished reading The Goal.
Oh God. Yep.
Or the Phoenix Project, and they're just like, "You don't know about it. You're a Brent. Everybody's a like, they got this whole vocabulary and system." And I was one of those guys for about 6 months after reading the Phoenix Project. I get it. I see how this happens to people's brains.
Yeah. I mean, we all went through that phase.
Yeah. But John Patterson's obsession is not DevOps, it's 5. A customer in a store, he writes, does one of 5 things: buy for cash, buy on credit, pay on account, collect a bill, or change money. There are 5 kinds of money: gold, silver, copper, nickel, and paper.
All right.
We can only guess what John Patterson would have made of Bitcoin. He will often write, like I said, he will often write these articles and give lectures to employees on various topics. And his topics are things like the 5 things a salesman must do, the 5 things a salesman must not do. And
So he invented Buzzfeed listicles.
he invented, oh my God, Daniel, I didn't even think about that. Yes, he invented the fucking listicle. This guy.
Top 5 types of money. Number 4 will shock you.
Yeah. And it really was clickbait, right? But then instead of getting people to like actually be interested in it, they had to read it because he told all their wives they had to read it. He also writes this thing called The Science of Selling, which is an article. To quote that, a sickly, nervous man cannot exert that personal magnetism which unconsciously cuts such a large figure in the success of every salesman. Good health and abundant animal spirits are perhaps the most important qualifications for a salesman can have for his work.
Yeah, that checks out. He predicted / invented sales bros.
Yes. I've met so many sales bros who believe they have the best animal spirits. Oh, the reason I could sell so much software is because of my personal magnetism.
And the tiger spirit deep within me.
Yeah. I think this stuff right. What's your spirit animal? Dude, we don't do that anymore. Now, of all Patterson's pyramids, the most important is National Cash Register's org chart. Always his name is at the top of the pyramid in the abode of the sun god Ra, and the pyramid org chart has exactly 5 layers, of course.
Of course.
because it's fives all the way down. Fractally 5 inside this guy's mind. Now, by the way, don't get me wrong. I've got nothing against 5. 5 kicks ass.
It's a good number.
All right? It's a great number. It's the 5th Fibonacci number. That's fine. 5 is the Fibonacci number 5. That's cool. It's the hypotenuse of the smallest Pythagorean triple. So the 3, 4, 5 triangle. That rules.
Yeah. It's a prime number.
It's a prime number. It's both a safe prime and a good prime. I think I don't remember exactly what that means, but the number theorists all have all these names for different kinds of primes, and I think it's a safe prime and a good prime, which is cool. There's exactly 5 Platonic solids, which are, of course, the D4, the D6, the D8, the D12, and the D20.
My favorite
That's
shape.
what those are called. Yeah. Fuck the D10. Not a Platonic solid. Get the D10 out of here.
So that's why D10 systems are the worst role-playing systems.
Exactly. We cracked the code.
We figured it out.
Patterson would have hated those. So five is a lot of cool stuff. 5 is also the number of titular queer guys on Queer Eye for the straight guy.
That is true.
There are 5 of them. I really think Patterson would have been darkly obsessed with Queer Eye. First of all, there's 5 guys, and second of all, what they do is they find someone with a messy, unconventional way of living. They tell that person how to live their life.
They've got a system.
They have a system. They turn that person's chaos into order with their system. And I could imagine John Patterson having like a Victorian era version of Queer Eye for the straight guy, where he tells people how to live.
Or maybe he just wanted 5, whatever the equivalent, what dandies, 5 fashionable men to come tell him how to. What was he doing? Was he the one who was taking all the baths? Did he take 5
we're gonna
baths
get to the baths. I think actually it was 5 baths. You get him. You get John Patterson now.
That's upsetting.
Yeah, well, that's this show, baby. Yeah, amazing man. And order, really. Order was the defining principle of John Patterson's life. He had a soul that was hardwired to impose order, short-circuited even, I would say, to impose order. From 5s to pyramids to his total restructuring of the NCR work environment according to his single enlightened vision, all the way to his zealous devotion to the cash register, a machine that fixes the flaws in the retail employee by integrating his body into the arithmetic of bookkeeping. John H. Patterson was, in every respect, a paladin to the god of rational order, which at the turn of 20th century is capitalism itself.
It sure was.
And we're going to talk about how that informed the entire way that he lived and forced others to live in part 2. But for now, we're going to cash out. So
what a cliffhanger.
Thank you for that. I know. That's how you keep them coming for more cash register stories. Daniel, thank you so much for being here for this. And I make no apologies for exposing you to this man.
Thanks for having me.
You got anything you want to plug?
I do not. Technology is terrible. Go outside, climb a tree, get some fresh air, maybe by the ocean, maybe not.
Look for a tree that has 4 or 6 branches.
Yeah, not 5.
Yeah. Fuck John Patterson. Don't climb a 5-branch tree. And while you're out there, follow Tech Blows on TikTok. Follow me at Dan Slimman on Instagram. Subscribe to Technology Blows on YouTube, all that shit. Just devote your entire persona to this podcast the way John H. Patterson devoted his to the cash register. And join us next week for part 2 on cash registers. So long from me and Daniel, and so long from Technology Blows.